All right, we're in week 8 of this course, and I thought we'd have a little chit chat. Uh, those of you who have never moved or been involved in a second culture may find that actually you have. Uh, the chapter this week is very interesting. I think the video that we're looking at is extremely interesting if you notice the date. It was done in 2013. Look at the difference in our country in those few years. Look at what the gentleman says about our country as he saw it then, and think of what that same person would think of today. I don't want to get political, so I'm going to avoid getting into that, but let's look at what it means to move to a different culture or to be involved in a different culture. I don't think this course is all about moving to another country or something like that. Culture, as you know, there are subcultures, and we can look at those also and how we adapt to those. My guess is that most of us have had to make adaptations. Some of us more than others. I remember having a student one time he spoke 9 languages, and one of the things he said was that you don't really understand a language until you understand the culture of that language. And I think that's very true. Think of how we really don't get humor unless we understand the culture in which the humor is created. So I think you've probably been in a different culture, maybe in a work environment. You've been in one type of work, and then you've moved to a different type of work. Maybe you were working in a situation where you were in an office and pretty much behind a desk, and everybody else was in that situation. Then you went to a different industry or a different part of the company, and you were in sales. There are 2 different cultures there. Maybe you were like I was. I was a kid, young guy, just out of grad school, was hired to teach at a university. I didn't realize when I had accepted the job that it was a predominantly African American university, and so I arrived to find myself about the only white guy there. That was kind of an experience for a young guy who didn't know anything. I mean, you got to realize this was in the early 1960s, and the world was a different place. We were not as multicultural in any sense as we are today, though back then we were more accepting of people coming into our country, I believe, than we are now. But I remember moving into that culture, into the African American culture, where I didn't actually live on the campus. There wasn't room for me. It was just a matter of, buddy, you're new here, go find yourself a place to live. That was interesting in that it was in the early 1960s, and the Civil Rights Act was in full force, or should have been, but I was living in the South, and I had a very hard time finding any white people who would rent to me. Now, to be fair, I went to what was then in the newspapers. You went to the advertising, and you had one section that the whites would look at, and then you had another section, and it was called colored. Now, that's a very offensive term today, but that was the fact in 1963, 64. So I went there, tried to find a place to rent, and nobody would rent to me there either. It was a difficult spot. Something I'm kind of happy I went through, because it certainly opened my eyes to things. But moving to a different culture, or moving within a different culture, is an experience that everybody should embrace. It's so exciting to learn new things. It's frustrating, as you see in the videos, the 5 short videos, talks about how we think everything's wonderful, and then we don't think it's wonderful, and then we start accepting. It's an exciting part of life, and one I encourage you to embrace. I've done a good bit of traveling, and I noticed as I've read your posts and gotten to know some of you. Some of you have done far more traveling than I have. It's one thing to travel to a different country and stay within your own culture. You can go someplace and stay within a company or a unit of some sort and not really give up your own background. But it's something else to move within the culture. If you've not done that, try it. It's a lot of fun. And it's amazing how well most of us can get along without understanding another language. I moved throughout Turkey. I don't know a word of Turkish, but I certainly didn't have any trouble communicating with people. I think, embarrassingly, they learned English and I didn't learn Turkish. So I encourage you to go out and meet with people from other cultures. Understand that we are not all alike, but maybe there are some similarities there that we just don't recognize until we start interacting. When you put up barriers to interacting, you're creating problems, not just for yourself, but for the other people as well. So try to eliminate barriers, try to see the world from the other side. See that culture from their side rather than from your side. We're in a tough spot today. Many people in our government, many of our citizens want to close off from other cultures. It's a very, very dangerous thing to do because the world is a big place and we are not all alike. So I don't want to politicize this, but I do want to make sure that you understand that when we communicate, we have to think about the other cultures we're communicating with. If you want to look at this, you can look at it from gang cultures and the way that they'll communicate. You might look at it from business cultures and how they communicate. So be aware that you have to be open to other cultures because that's the world we're living in. I want to talk to you. If you want to give me a call, please feel free. If you want to email me, please feel free. I'll be glad to talk to you more. This is just a rather informal talk, but if you would like to talk to me, you have my cell phone number so you can call it. I do ask that you be considerate because I live on the East Coast. Right now I'm living in a very sunny part of southern Florida and I'm looking out over a pool right now. So just realize that I'm available. And going back to that, by the way, I moved to a new neighborhood and I'm still in that phase of this neighborhood culture of thinking, boy, everybody's so friendly. I'll wait and see how that works out next month. Take care of yourselves. I've enjoyed this class. Maybe we'll talk some more before the end of the class.